graduating, and I thought my shit didn't stink. I thought it was really cool. And in college, and mattress sales was not. That's why I always, I just find it very interesting to see how people ended up in this industry. For one, I just think it's really interesting to see how everybody got here in this room, because I think it's a lot of different stories, like from Javier with his dad, working when he's 16, to, just people applying to an ad in the paper, to me in college at the bar in Nacogdoches, where my professor happened to be, who said, Amanda, you need an interview. So I did for practice, like Melissa. I actually remember the suit I was wearing. I still own it and fit in it. Whoop, whoop. So I remember Dr. Coucn, it was like a napkin. It's a little tight, though, the suit. All this mattress from drinking and eating. So signed me up on a napkin at Sport Check to interview, and I was like, okay, I'll do it for practice. Like 2 hours later, with Murph Dog over there, was in this interview, and I was just like, oh my gosh, it did not feel like an interview at all. I think I met with like 3 people that day, but Kim was like, let me be the last person. So I met with Kim, and it was a lot of fun. For some reason, I thought I was going to move to California. Like, I don't know why. I thought I was going to move to California, like be this like person that was like living the life, I don't know, in the Beverly Hills. And I interviewed this company, and they're about to fly me out there to meet with them. And the guy I remember was so the opposite of Ken. He was just very rude. He knew I was in a sorority, but then yet he would like make fun of people in sororities. And just, I got this really negative vibe from this man. So I was like, and I just kept getting this feeling like from my gut. So I was like, okay, I need to think about this. And I told Ken, and Ken actually asked me, he's like, what does your dad think? Because I'm like, I'm one of 5 kids. My sister's older than me. She was in grad school. My dad's self-employed. We used to call him the Hulk in high school. So our house never got toilet papered or wrapped or anything, because people are really deathly afraid of my father. So he's was really concerned, and Ken asked me, like, what does your dad think? I was like, well, he's not very excited about this whole idea, but I'm very stubborn, and I'm going to do, like, if my dad tells me I can't do something, I'm going to do the opposite of it, just because that's just my will. But I was like, you can talk to him if you want to, and Ken's like, sure, I'll call your dad. And sure as shit, he called my dad. I'm like, great, now I'm not even going to get the offer. They're going to renege it because he talks to my dad, and my dad's going to, like, scare him. So I find out they have, like, 2-hour conversation maybe? Which is, I would imagine you're probably doing more talking than my dad, because my dad didn't talk much. So next thing you know, I'm going to go, I told him I'd go anywhere, which at the time was Fort Worth, which is not very far, like Abby and, Milka and Melissa. I know y'all took a bigger move. And I went to go work for Ray. Where's Ray? Is Ray in here? There you are. Lay away, Ray. And I remember I was driving into Fort Worth, and Ray calls me on my cell phone. He's like, oh, Amanda, I'm so excited to have you. And at the time, Dallas was really different. It was like 3 markets. I remember I was probably the only young female in the marketplace. I remember it was really interesting. But it was real. I like a challenge. So it was good. I wanted to make people like me. But Ray called me. He's like, Amanda, I'm going to be like your big brother, or probably more like your dad. So I really got a good feeling from that. And then Mitch, is Mitch here? Well, that's probably because I beat him in flowing last night.
He's practicing.
He's battling. He's probably battling flowing. If any of y'all were there last night, we flowed and I won. Mitch was my area manager, which was really cool because he actually went to SFA as well. And he was in a fraternity that I was affiliated with. I'm not going to get emotional because I just every freaking time I tell a story. Like Abby, right before I graduated, I had a really rough, a really, really rough senior year. My best friend in college, my roommate, tragically died in a car wreck, and she was actually the head sweetheart of his fraternity. And so I'd never met Mitch, and he's years older than me, and of course he didn't know Amy. But on my first week of the job, I'm crying to this man I've never met before. He's my boss. I'm a freaking nutcase, and I'm crying to him about it, because we had this emotional connection, and that was so tender because I never experienced, my grandmother passed away, which was, sad thing in my life when I was in 5th grade, but really I'd never experienced death like that, and something so tragic. And, my best friend, when I'm 21 years old, 22 years old, it's still, however many years later, it's still a tender moment for me. But Mitch was always just so sweet to me and let me off. Every year we've gone to visit her family, he always let me off, and we, still talk about it. Anyone that's close to me knows about that particular part of my life, and it's really shaped me, as Archie said, things that happen in your life that shape you, and that's definitely something in my life that has shaped me and, makes me cherish things. But that way, I just thought that was really interesting how, I had a connection with Ken. Ray called me, and I had this connection with Mitch, who I learned later had nicknames for me. I'm sure not HR appropriate, wherever he is. Like Honey Hams.
No one from HR is here.
Okay, good. We had dinner with your parents, and we showed up 45 minutes late, which was embarrassing. Like, it's just so exciting to see everybody in these positions and, like, where they are today, and it's just so fulfilling, so rewarding. And now my sister, many of you know, she works for the company, which I guess that was back in, 2007, 2008, I think. She was in Austin working for Nike, nice, shiny company. And my sister and I, I didn't know this. I always compared myself to my sister. I was like, I'm not as good as my sister. But I didn't know it. She compared herself to me. And she wanted what I had at Mattress Firm because I was so happy. And I didn't know that being the younger sister. And I talked to her about Mattress Firm. She wasn't going to take the job. I was freaking pissed. We were in Atlanta. Abby knows I'm talking about. She called Ken. He put the hard clothes on her. I said, close her. So now Big D, which is my dad, he had 2 daughters now working for the mattress company, and now my sister's married to Jason Goodman, who works for the company. They have a baby together. So it's just, crazy to think that.
Brett.
Oh, my brother Brett, who many of you maybe know, he's he's like the most amazing he's not little, he's bigger than me, he's 20, and he's special needs, but he's an intern for us. He really is an intern for Mattress Firm. He wants to be a bouncer. That's his goal at Mattress Firm. Which, hearing Jason Preston's story, they probably do need bouncers. But it's just really interesting what Archie is saying about choices. And I always think back, I'm like, okay, when Dr. Coucn gave me that choice to go and sign me up for this interview, I had the choice at that point in time to say no or yes, or like be too prideful and not take the job because I thought I was better than the position. And that was a very, very significant choice in my life that I made. And so looking back on it, and I like to think about it, I'm like, it's just really crazy to think about how different my life could be, how different my sister's life could be, Jason Goodman, like their, baby Ruxin. So it's just crazy, to think about how a simple choice can impact your entire life. So I feel very fortunate. And one last memory I'll leave you on, it's a funny one. At the corporate office, we have ugly sweater parties during Christmas time, which I highly recommend in your markets. We were hitting those hideous sweaters ever. And we had won a contest where we do mini games, which are fun, and we were going to go caroling in limo. We had a limo, and we're going to go caroling. So we decided to go caroling in River Oaks, which is a really nice neighborhood.
With ugly sweaters.
Which happens to be where Steve Stagner lives. So he had his address up on Facebook, which he took it down immediately after. So we went and caroled with Steve Stagner, and he had a family dinner going on, but we went into his house and we're caroling in ugly sweaters. He thought it was hilarious. He's now not with that wife anymore. Maybe we pushed that over the edge, but that was just that was a really funny moment. And from the top to the bottom down, it's just the culture is very consistent, and it's just been a good fun ride. Yeah, we